My name's Meave Daru, and I'm the Chief Executive of Brilliant Parents. And it's been wonderful to do this work with Bournemouth. Prior to COVID, because we're based in London, most of our work was London-based. And when COVID hit, we were then able to deliver online and to be able to support councils like Bournemouth who needed a little bit of extra support. So we've been able to do that since I think October last year. So I know some of you have had support very recently. We deliver Triple P nationally now. I suppose we could almost say internationally now if the need arose. It's a real pleasure to do work with Bournemouth Council. So just to give you a little bit of background about us, Sam is one of our many practitioners that delivers on our behalf, and I know that she's done some wonderful work with you, and she should be joining us shortly. But until such time, Gay, would you like to say a few words?
Yes, that'd be lovely. Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name's Gay Wright. I'm the really long title, Early Help Localities Operational Manager for BCP. So came into post on the 1st of September to deliver the family hubs and all our programmes. And I'm absolutely passionate about getting the right service to the right children and families at the right time. And found myself in a situation where we'd inherited quite a long waiting list. And for my service, it's our absolute best hope that when a family, parent, child, young person needs to access an intervention or course from us, that there is minimal waiting time. So when I had this huge waiting list, I really wanted to look at how we could reduce that to make sure that all the parents of BCP got the courses and the provision that they needed without too much waiting. So I was absolutely delighted to be introduced to me, that Brilliant Parents, and we were in a situation where we could commission Brilliant Parents to do the Triple P delivery that would support us with our waiting lists and the number of families that were waiting for the Triple P. So I've been absolutely delighted with the work that Brilliant Parents have been doing on behalf of BCP to ensure that you get the very best service and the very best course that you need to support you and your families. So I was really delighted again that Meave invited me here this evening to see you all and have a chat and to see, you know, a lot of my work to get the work established with Brilliant Parents has been in the background and doing all the paperwork, and but just been amazed at the testimonies and the evaluations that have come back from Brilliant Parents and the absolute hard work that you've all been doing as parents as well, and just reading the impact that that's having on your family lives and the positive impact it's having on your children as well. So really delighted to see you all and to see that it's really benefited you and your families in accessing the Triple P programmes through Brilliant Parents. So
thank you, Gay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's really kind. Thank you. Before I ask the parents a few questions, I just wanted to ask Samantha to introduce herself.
I'm Samantha Abraham. I'm one of the parenting group facilitators that work for Brilliant Parents with some lovely Brilliant Parents. It's been a really amazing group I had.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, so what I thought we would do is just have a chat, really. I think maybe the best way to go forward is maybe individually, if you could say your name, which course you attended, and really what life was like before you attended the course.
Hi everybody, my name's Gary. I came on the course, as Meave said, wow, I suppose it was October, November last year. It was shortly before Christmas that we stopped at Triple P, of course. I was given the opportunity to join the course during last year. My daughter and I had some challenges. We have a fundamentally happy life with some horrible challenges that I don't need to go into here in detail. But so we got some support from CAMS, and that was good support. But it's so we were offered the opportunity to go on. I was offered to go on Triple P. as a single parent, 12 years single parent of a son and a daughter. The son is 7 years older, and my challenge has already gone with him. But this is my first daughter, my only daughter, and having brought up 3 boys, it turns out that bringing up a girl is different, especially when you're a father who's a single parent. So certain challenges as she reached teenage, and those challenges just got worse and worse and worse. So I was desperate, she was desperate. We found ourselves having gone from this loving relationship to one that was so tortuous sometimes, and we were just at loggerheads. I don't know if that sounds familiar to anyone. So we had some challenges, and honestly, as a father, I put those challenges down to her behaviour rather than necessarily my part in that teamwork. So I was offered the opportunity to come Triple P. I was a little hesitant because I found all through my life as a single parent, I'm usually the only dad. And this is not an environment that I feel especially comfortable in, but I thought, let's give it a go. But I found very quickly, and as I expected, I was the only dad with lots of mums. But what I found was, so the Triple P is very effective. The course is very effective. The materials are very effective, very informative, and standing alone, I think it's very, very good. But where I really benefited myself is Maeve's ability to interpret what each of us as parents were going through and relate those behaviors, those problems, those issues back to the Triple P, and then allow us all to communicate with each other. By the 3rd session, we were all talking to each other as if we'd known each other for 10 years. And each of us was the source of the solutions to all of our problems. So that I really look forward to it every week. It really, really helped me. I very quickly understood that my daughter wasn't the problem. My daughter was part of the problem, and I was perhaps the larger part of the problem because of the way I was dealing with the challenges that she was facing. So a number of the methodologies that came out of the Triple P really helped me put into perspective how I can take the things that I'm good at and use them to help my relationship with my daughter. And in hindsight, they're perhaps simple things, but it's the way that we were shown to use these tools, sometimes very simple tools, to great effect. And so the follow-up is that, is our life absolutely perfect and never a problem? No, she's a teenage girl and I'm not. Are things much better? Oh, good heavens, yes. And mostly if I was to take one thing away, I have the courage to ask my 15-year-old daughter questions and talk about things with my 15-year-old daughter that I never felt that I could ask or speak to about previously. So I just came away just so pleased that I did this. I had so many good experiences of it. And we're no longer attending camps. Every aspect of our relationship and her behavior is better since that experience.
That's great, Gary. Thank you so much. That was really, it's good to hear, where you were and where you are today. And, from a practitioner's point of view, to know that, you came along, you committed, and, you were open to whatever we were giving you, and you received it and you took it and you ran with it. So
I have 2 boys, and my eldest son is now 16. And all through his secondary school, he was sent out of class for having fun and goofing around and not concentrating, and loads of phone calls home. And then it was the first lockdown when they were doing sort of their own home-led work. I got very aware of Gino not being able to concentrate and not being able to do any self-led retained work or self-led driven work. And whenever I was helping him, I was just beginning to observe his behavior. And for a while, I'd thought that there was something possibly ADD or ADHD. And then I started to look into it. And I had a chat with him about it and showed him a few bits and pieces. And he said, I'm all of that. I'm all of that, and I'm more than that. So I got in touch with school. And I actually first got in touch with the doctors, and the doctor said, well, because he's not been arrested, and because I said it's nothing to do with being arrested, it's like school, he can't concentrate and he's being labelled as being naughty, and he's not. So I spoke to school, and school said, okay, yes, blah, blah, blah. They said, you have to do the triple P. I was like, perfect, let me do the triple P. So I went on to the triple P program, and similarly to what Gary was saying, I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was a fantastic course of which I really looked forward to it. It was interesting, it was engaging. Judah was amazing. His listening for us was fantastic. He really was able to listen and interpret and reflect very accurately. And yeah, for me, I became very aware of what teenage was. I think my parenting is able to sort of see the way I parent in similarities to the triple P, but there was lots of awareness and lots of new little tips and tricks that I took on, which was amazing. Also really good to share with other parents. And I felt very privileged that I was in that position, having this teenage tuition. The only thing for me that was missing from the triple P is the actual focus on the ADHD or the condition that I was originally signposted to go and do. So for me, it just seemed like it was a process in order to get to the assessment. And I'm fine with that. And I felt very privileged to have this education. I was like, every single parent should do triple P, end of story. It should be on our parent curriculum. And that way we can understand and relate and talk and respect and have that pitch the conversation perfectly to our own children, because we pitch to our children. I've got 2 boys and I pitch to each of them slightly differently. So it was really interesting to get that interpretation that has those differences, but the same thread, but different pitches, which was really good. But I've sort of now had a conversation back to the MASH team today and to school to say, right, let's push this forward, because it didn't address what Gino needs, what he really needs. And, that is the support perhaps to go into his college with some possible diagnosis of ways to manage his lack of ability to concentrate and focus. And he's not a bad kid. In fact, when he really wants to focus, he hyper focuses and he's really intense on something. But when it comes to sort of, talking about Banquo and Macbeth, he's the bit he can concentrate for 5 minutes. So it's really interesting, and it's becoming more and more apparent as he's having to sort of do more revision. So I just want to know how I, again, can best support him and communicate with him if he does have that diagnosis. If he doesn't have that diagnosis, then the triple P parenting, I'm implementing it anyway, but I'll just sort of go further into those techniques. Some of the techniques I found to be a little patronizing, and it wouldn't have worked with my kids. They're sometimes a little bit too cool for school, my boys, and some of them came across patronizing, but that was really interesting. Part of our group conversation that's what I'm saying, you have to pitch differently. So anyway, I'm really looking forward to just implementing or continuing the growth of implementing those techniques. I love the book. The workbook was really great, and just sort of the little exercise where you had to log not the problem, but Gino was asking about his bike, and he would ask me about 15 times a day about it. And beforehand, I was a bit like, oh, Gino, please. But then I was really aware that that's a process, and just logging that. And so the awareness has been fantastic. And it's allowed me to be much more, just tolerant of those sort of conditions and the way he is. So yeah, I really loved it, and I thought that Judah was fantastic. He was absolutely spot on.
Thank you so much, Anna.
Yeah.
It's really good to hear. And awareness is a key part of it. Many a time as parents, we are our focus is so much on the child, and we don't have our own internal awareness in terms of how we think, how we act, how we react, and how we engage generally. So the fact that you've grasped that will keep you for you know, forever. As long as you can maintain that awareness, you will be fine. That's the starting point.
That's right. And just the little things, like, you know, we spend, you know, because they're sort of lads, we don't spend that much time. And those small moments, those little moments where they do come to me, I get really present and really, you know, super present. And again, rather than just going, yeah, you know, and that affectionate, when they're affectionate, it's just to get really present, like not even aware, but so present and so focused is fantastic.
Really pleased to hear.
Thank you.
Well
Thank
done.
you so much.
So who would like to go next?
Go next.
Okay, go for it, Tom.
And the reason I said I'll go next is because I can go off the back of what that young lady's just said.
Go for it.
I agree that the Triple P could do with a little bit more insight into things like special needs, learning difficulties, ADHD, ADD. Being a parent, obviously, of a 12-year-old little girl, I have ADD myself. I grew up, I was that lad. You know, I was Gino. I was the lad that was marked up as the naughty kid. I was the lad that was pushed out of class or pushed out of the circles because I wasn't seen to be the cool one. You know, I wanted to cause trouble. You give me something along the lines of Macbeth or something like that, and you've lost me. I'm down the road somewhere in my mind. You give me a car or anything like that, I will chew your ear off about it. I know the ins and outs of everything. So I feel the passion there. I mean, with the group and Sam, I mean, I've had a good rapport with being the only father in the group as well, which was kind of a bit daunting to begin with, but we got there. You know, working alongside them, listening to what their children went through or what their children are going through and what they're going through with their children, really sort of like opened my eyes on a different angle, being the fact that I understood where my parents were coming from back when I was that age. So it's made me realise that how I can implement my actions to make that difference to my daughter's life. Like, it's a bit difficult for me because I have been in my daughter's life up until recently. I only met her a year ago because her mum took her away, but that's a whole new story. But yeah, I really learned how to implement things in my own life to have that effect on the, you know, to have the effect on my daughter that is needed from the, well, that is not needed, that is portrayed by this course, by the Triple P course. So it helped me to help myself, if that makes sense, rather than it did help me to help my daughter.
And that's just so that makes immense sense, and that's what it's about. Because, you know, as parents, as I say, we do always think that it's about the child, and, you know, I have to take my hat off to you, because it takes a courageous parent to be able to look at themselves. There's so many of us that, no, it's not my problem, it's all about the child. It takes great courage to be able to turn the focus and turn the lens back on ourselves and think, you know, well, maybe it is the way that I'm speaking. Maybe it is the way that I'm acting. You know, maybe my voice is a little bit too harsh. Maybe I am too quick to react when they do something wrong. Maybe I do ignore when they're doing something good. So that takes great courage. So hats off to you, Tom, for sharing that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Go next. Hi, Susanna. Go for it.
Hi, all right. Yeah, basically, I'm a mum of 5. Boys and girls are totally different. The boys was never an issue. The main problem is the 13-year-old. The signs there of being autistic. Tom has been a lifeline, bless him. He's given me a big insight as to what to expect and the inside of how Gemma is thinking. And it has been a challenge. And I've got, like, Hannah, I think it was, who was Annie, whatever, was talking a minute ago. Similar things with school. They think that she's the naughty child, and we're in the process of waiting to see CAMs and consultants and doctors, and yeah, so that's what the trying's been with her. But yeah, it has been difficult because obviously with having 5 and 4 that have been not really any trouble whatsoever, really, to be honest. It's just been this ultimate challenge where with the behaviour and the illness, or mental illness, knowing how to help her, basically.
The course help you to give you some tips?
Yeah. I mean, Triple P was right behind, and yeah, it's I communicate with her better now, because I've had to, we discuss things more, and I'm a bit calmer, because I'm starting to acknowledge now what the problems are. Like I said, Tom's been a lifeline, really. He's really, because obviously he's gone into a great depth because of the situation. But yeah, so by understanding her, I can actually sit down and talk to her more about it. So that's helped a lot.
And has she, as you've become a little bit more calmer, has she changed in any way, her behaviour, if you're a little bit more calmer?
She has at home, not at school.
Okay. So you can see the difference because of the way that you're engaging with her.
Yeah.
So maybe we need to go into school.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. Jenny, would you like
Hello.
to
It is a brilliant programme, and it covers everything that you need to know, provided you haven't done most of the other programmes that are available, because the only real thing that I gained from it was he deflects a lot whenever I try and discuss something that's an issue. So that pretty much is the only thing that I've really taken that I haven't already gone over with early help previously, or various other courses, MVR and Incredible Years, and it's such and such and such. But Sam's brilliant. She's really great at tailoring it to your specific child's needs, which I really found helpful with, discussing what I'd already done, what I'd already known. The section on behaviour contracts, I did that before with early help about 2 years ago. So I kind of feel that I was stuck on this programme because it's the only thing that I hadn't done. Whereas I think my son needs more help than I do now. And I think we need to look into that. He is under CAMS, he is under various other things as well. But it is a brilliant programme, and it does cover a lot of things which, as Anna said, every parent needs to learn it, really. It is so beneficial and so great. But as I said, I've covered it in various other forms, through MVR, through early help, through everything else that I've already done, except for the whole deflecting and how to deal with him deflecting, which that has changed the dynamic a little bit at home. In that respect, I'm still struggling with my son because I feel he needs the help more than I do.
And you know what you're sharing with us, it's not an easy thing to share.
No.
when there is when you feel intimidated, but I think as a parent, knowing that you now have the awareness, you know that the chances of you escalating the situation are going to be minimal now, because you now know how to conduct yourself.
Yes,
Another
totally.
parent who may not have been on those courses may just react as opposed to respond.
Yeah, just like the MVR, that's the whole point of it. It's non-violent resistance. That's exactly how I dealt with that situation. I'm not perfect, I don't proclaim to be. I did lose my cool a little bit after being punched a few times.
Absolutely. And remember that we're all human at the end of the day. And every day it's a constant reminder to have that awareness, so that we can try to remain calm, and we can be focused on the words that we use, the way that we say things, the tone that we use, because that's all part of the communication. And if they can see, that their parents are dealing with a problem in a rational and an assertive manner, then, they will have more respect for us in the long run. But, if we escalate, then we're going nowhere in a hurry.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree. The issue with my son, though, is he still has dad involved, and dad's exactly the same. There was a lot of domestic violence that was witnessed by him between myself and his dad, and he's just come out of another relationship for doing pretty much the same thing. So he's still got that influence in his life, and obviously I'm trying to help him unlearn that behaviour, but it's a difficult task to do so when he's still involved in his life.
Sam, is there anything you'd like to add? Because I know that you were working, supporting Jenny.
I could add so much right now, honestly, and I'm kind of getting emotional listening to Jen right now, because I am so proud of her right now. The Jen that I'm listening to now would never have said what she said at the beginning of the program. I think even towards the end, Jenny's been always someone who's very active and talking about using the program, what's working, what's not working. She's been brilliant at that. To be able to talk her own experience, to listen to her being able to talk about her experience to a group even, I'm blown away. Absolutely blown away. And she's very much more aware than anybody else exactly why, because Jenny's somebody who wouldn't have otherwise said it. So to say it to a group who she's meeting for the first time is talking about her journey that I don't think is going to take time for her to even to process, but to witness it. I am hugely proud of her just for being able to come that part of the journey. I don't think necessarily when we're talking about the program, we're talking about the strategies and reflecting, to also give yourself permission to say, these are things I'm going through, has been something else that's come out of this, particularly for our group. And so for Jenny to sit here and explain her experience, to talk about what hasn't worked as well as what has worked, has been a huge thing. It's been an absolutely huge thing. So I'm more than grateful that you've been able to say that so openly, and to say I'm proud is an understatement. Again, with Sue, somebody who didn't talk so much in the group, but was very much participating. So again, to hear her talking about her experience is amazing. And like I say, exactly the same things for different reasons though. And Sue's been very open. She doesn't do group talking and conversations, let alone kind of sharing her experiences. Again, confidence has been a huge thing, has been a theme throughout our program. And Tom, I could talk about for absolutely years for a number of reasons. Not only because he came late to the group as a dad and felt a bit awkward, but he joined the group amazingly well. And what he lent to the group was a fantastic perspective, was to be an adult now who's also a parent, lending to experience of having ADD and going through the educational system and how children can get labelled, and the deadlines for support and all these things that don't, get recognised in time, or have to kind of keep repeating ourselves, misunderstandings, all these things he was able to lend to, not only as a parent, as a child who's gone through those things. And another positive that came out of that was actually how times have changed, is that we can recognise things earlier, we can get support earlier, and inform parents earlier so they can have a voice for themselves. So the group has been an amazing group to work with, not only because of what is coming from the program, is to see the journeys and the other bits that are not the strategies that come from the program, the amount of calm, the confidence, those things that become part of the group and the group formation, and just sharing those experiences and normalizing some of that and not feeling alone and isolated, has given a lot of space to have different conversations and open up more. So I am just blown away with every one of them, honestly, and I'm glad to be part of the process that made that happen.
Aww.
So thank you all.
Thank you.
And Gary, I can speak for Gary. One of the first things Gary said in session 1 was, when we were talking about, what do you hope to gain from coming on this course? And he said something along the lines of, as the only dad, I want to be the best mum that I can be. Yeah. And that I just got, oh my God. All the ladies in the group just said, okay, we're just going to look after you. We're just going to hold you. We're just going to, you're not going anywhere, and it was just wonderful.
Being a dad on the program, I think, is a little bit harder as well, because obviously, I don't mean this in a horrible way, shape, or form, but obviously more mums stick around with their children than what the dads do. And obviously every dad's got a different story. Some dads are single dads, some dads are distant dads, some dads are not around for whatever reason. But I think personally, everybody, dads, mums, grandparents, anybody that's involved in a child's life would benefit from this program. Because to be honest, working alongside Sam and the rest of my group, I learned so many different things that I could implement, again, like I said, in my own life, towards my child, and not only just towards my child, but my own life in moving forwards. Like, my partner, she struggles to deal with the way I am sometimes. So it's taught me how, by her reactions, she's like a frustrated parent because of how I am. I'm still very childish in my mind, even though I'm like 34. So it's taught me have been able to talk to Sam about it, and you know, the rest of the group, it's been such a helping hand to, you know, change my life around completely.
That's amazing to hear. You know, it's so interesting that, you know, most parents come on these courses because they're trying to help their children, and invariably we help the parents themselves to look at themselves, to mature within their own parenting and their approach to parenting, and also to think, if it's so hard for me to change, can you imagine how much harder it is for my child to change? You know, I struggle with remaining calm. You know, I struggle with whatever the case may be, not shouting as much as I used to because I'm a shouter, or whatever a parent may say. And, you know, when we actually can look at ourselves and think, well, my goodness, I slipped up there. So is it any you know, thing that my son or daughter might slip up from time to time? So
that's the position that I'm in, even as an adult, even as a parent. I'm still in that child position where I'm like, I will lose my temper, I will slip up, I will say something that I don't necessarily mean in a nasty way, but it might come across in a nasty way, you know? Or
but here's the thing, Tom, you know, we all have that inner child inside of us that comes out in different ways and manifests.
My inner child is out to play, and so I always say, a man never grows up, their toys just become real. I used to play with cars as a kid, and now I'm a mechanic and I look after bulldogs. So, you know, it's my toys just became real once. It's
yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Gary, was there anything that you wanted to say or wanted to add or wanted to ask as we're having this great discussion?
Yeah, I just wanted to say it's an absolute privilege to be here and to listen to the impact that Triple P's had on you, but also the realism that it's just part of the journey that you're all on. And what I got from all of your amazing testimonies was the absolute commitment. And I mean, Jenny, what resonated for me is that you've gone through everything, you've tried every avenue, and your commitment and all of your courage for taking those first steps, and also sharing your stories and your journeys you've been on. You know, it's been an absolute privilege. Thank you to inviting me and listening, letting me listen to your testimonies. And also for me, when I'm looking at commissioning parenting programs, the things that you've been really honest to say, yes, this bit helped me, but actually there's still a journey to go on, and did it actually do everything that I need it to do for me, especially parents that are supported to access Triple P, to access community paediatrician. So Anna, picking up on what you were saying, and sorry, Sue, for me listening to that and going, actually Triple P is one step, but is there something else that we need to be looking at in terms of ADHD and autism? And because we know that our behaviour pathway in BCP is that if there's a suggestion that your child may have ADHD or ASD, then there's an ask for you to attend a parenting course to look at whether any of those strategies will support your child. But what I was hearing, especially from Sue and Anna, was that, well, yes, we've done the course, but there is still that need for something else to support you and your child. So I'm really going to take that back. And it would be great if I had your permission perhaps to contact you again, all of you, for different reasons, just to kind of unpick, because I want to absolutely get this right for parents. And I think absolutely Triple P is right, but also don't want to just say to you as parents of BCP, oh, you've done that course, so that's great. Want to make sure that there's that golden thread and you're not left thinking, oh, well, I've done that course, so what happens now?
Myself personally, the lady who got me onto the Triple P parenting course, Rachel, she signed me off about 5 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, which obviously I hadn't completed the course, and it was kind of, oh, there you go, you're done, ticked box. And obviously now I'm back at early help because of the incident with my son last week. So it kind of has not really helped me being signed off that quickly. So I think maybe that's something that needs to be
absolutely. that's why it's really critical that everybody's listening and that we hear those stories and that we can say, actually, we need to wait for the endings. We need to wait, and we need to wait to look at the impact. And Jenny, you kindly shared lots of information, and I'm not seeing that courses are necessarily a panacea, but we've got the Who's in Charge course, the DVRT course for young people as well as parents. So I'm not, again, that's about looking at what your needs are and what the needs are of your son and who else is supporting you. But actually take on board that when we're working, when people are keen to close a case because you've made all that improvement, maybe it's just about waiting and just so that you still get that support. So I've, within that half an hour, I've taken so much information away from you all, and I really, really appreciate you sharing all of that, as well as, the impactfulness of Triple P, and those strategies and those techniques, and Gary and Tom, really being able to articulate how you've transposed all those techniques into a happier, but again, a realistic family life. It's not always happy ever after, but there's a little bit more happy and better communication. So that's what I wanted to say, really. I mean, in terms of
Can I ask the question to the parents? Would any of you have liked to have been offered some sort of talking therapy after the parenting course? Because one of the things that I've found is that, as I've said before, is that parents sometimes have a lot of their own stuff going on, and they don't actually realize how much of that they bring to their parenting. And if they perhaps had some kind of talking therapy where they could talk about their own issues, either prior to a parenting course or post-parenting course, would any of you have thought that that sort of thing would have been helpful for you personally, or not, as the case may be?
I think I am myself as a mum already going through that of my own accord, aside from all parenting courses. I'm seeking help with things like that. I've also done pattern changing courses and stuff, but I think that my son needs something along those lines desperately.
Right, okay, so some kind of counselling or something.
Yes.
Okay. What about you, Susanna? Is that something that you think would have been relevant to you or not really?
Yeah, it probably would have helped, actually.
Okay, that's interesting. Anna?
I mean, I didn't feel that I was left with issues that were unaddressed. Okay. However, I mean, again, similarly, in that talking therapies are so beneficial regardless, that it might be that within a focused session of talking therapy that things will have emerged, rather than me sort of thinking, do I need more support? But just the sort of having gone through the process with the right questions, because, through the whole process, given the right questions, we were definitely able to share, and we were sort of sharing about parenting. But given the specific directed questions, it can only be beneficial to share and develop. And so for that, I would always welcome some talking therapy just to develop myself.
Gary, what are your thoughts on that?
Having had such a positive experience, if someone offered me an opportunity, I would just say yes. Do I really need it? I think probably there are people that my needs were largely addressed, and I identified. And it was perhaps not pointed out, but I realized that this isn't my daughter's problem. This is our problem together. And I felt we went on a new journey together. It's always nice to be able to speak to people who are not directly involved, who can bring wisdom and knowledge to a situation and help you. Would I like it? Yes, of course. Do I need it? Probably not right now. I think in terms of what I was hoping to get out of it, I think I'm a much better mother than I ever was. So yeah, yes, lovely. No, not really, if that makes any sense at all. Yeah, I'd welcome it, of course, but I don't think I need it. So
it makes perfect sense. And Tom,
I think on a personal level, yes, because obviously being that parent with the learning difficulties that I do have, obviously I struggle with things when it comes down to the reading and the logical thinking side of things. I've always been one that on a verbal level, I think verbal support is always better. I've always found verbal support better than I have written support, or, you know, whichever. I mean, the group I've been with have been absolutely fantastic. And I mean, what I've learned off of them is golden. You know, you couldn't dream of asking for any more. But I think on a personal level to myself, I think it's being the condition that obviously I have, and that it's trying to understand myself. It's being able to help and understand everything else.
And that's what the talking therapies would do. It would just take things further down the road, but it would be deeper in terms of yourself as a person.
I agree, but I think post would be better than
post.
Yeah, so I think after the sessions would be better than before. Yeah. And the reason I say that is because obviously once you've learned everything, you learn more about yourself in that background. So more things that come forward as you move forward past the, you know, sort of post group.
No, that's great. It's great to know that. Thank you. Well, I think you know, we've covered everything. Is there anything anyone wants to add before we say goodbye and let you get on with your evening?
I'd like to thank you again for helping us turn our life around. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. You know, as I think it was Anna who said, you know, I really, it's my mission, and I know that, you know, Sam and Gay, we're all on the same page where we think that, you know, parenting is a risky business. There's so much that can go wrong with our children, whether or not we know consciously or not. You know, there's so much that can go wrong. And I don't think society really values parenting in the way that it should. You know, just because you have a child biologically doesn't mean you have all the answers. You know, if you want to foster or you want to adopt, you have to climb over hoops. You have to jump hoops to get through. But because we have our children naturally, you know, society feels that we have all the answers, and we simply don't. And, you know, I think that training should be just as readily available as antenatal classes. And that's my mission in life. So watch this space. We're gonna lead a revolution here. So
sorry, just one more thing.
Yes.
I'd like to Sam. This is to Sam personally. Like, I got asked to come on this. I got offered this course due to a situation that was going on in my daughter's life regarding her mum and her, I suppose you could call him, stepfather. When I got asked what I wanted out of this, I wanted to understand myself more on the roles of being a parent, having not been in her life for so long. I want to say literally from the bottom of my heart, I thank Sam and everybody in that group who made me feel so welcome that I've not been able to talk about conditions and understand myself for many years, like for as long as I can remember. Sam and the group made me feel that comfortable, and it was more like an extended family that I was able to break that barrier. And I told them things that I probably haven't spoken about in my life, let alone in a group of people that I didn't really know. Sam gave me the confidence to speak up. And, you know, I have had a conversation with Sam as well that I've typed around and said, if it's beneficial to other people, being a parent in the situation that I'm in with my learning difficulties and everything, I would be willing to work through, because of her support throughout the course. I would be willing to work alongside you all, including BCP group as well, to get that point across to people, because there are people out there that don't understand nobody understands the logics of ADHD or ADD or anything. We only know what we can read in a textbook. Everybody shows signs differently. Everybody reacts to things differently. But if you can get if you can get like a locum, you know roughly how to deal with things. And obviously being a parent with it, there's lots of parents I know that do have mental health conditions that don't necessarily know how to conduct themselves. And obviously find things like this quite daunting. I mean, to be fair, at the beginning, I did. But no, from the bottom of my heart, I thank all of you for the support and being helping me to progress with myself, let alone the rest of my life.
Thank you, Tom. That's really,
Thank you,
really, I don't even know what to say after that, really. Gay?
No, I mean, Tom, that is such a gift to hear your offer as well, and that's what I really want to do, is offer these vignettes and these testimonies from you so we can encourage more families, because it is such a huge, courageous step what all of you have done. And for other parents to hear you being able to take those first steps and the impact that this course has had on you, we kind of want to spread that word to we know that there are lots and lots of parents out there that just need that encouragement, but they don't want to hear it from people like me. They want to hear it from parents that have experienced it and that have been on the journeys that you've been on.
I mean, unfortunately, I haven't been able to fill out, I don't think I've filled out the emails for the testimonies on, so like I said, I don't understand
what you said today, Tom, covers all of that.
Yeah, I don't understand things like that.
Worry about that.
Going back to what Gay said earlier on about contacting us separately on different angles, if you would like to, the offer is there. Obviously, I will have my details. Please don't.
We will communicate all your details to Gay with your permission, if that's okay.
100%.
You all right with that?
100%. And obviously with yourselves as well, through Brilliant Parents, whatever. If you need me in the future, obviously.
That's really kind. That's really kind. It's important that not only parents hear the impact, but possible other clients who are looking to do this work. So again, they need to know that it does make a difference. We don't just ask you to come along and you just turn up and then you disappear. The fact that every week you are implementing your homework, you're coming back, you're reporting, you're saying this worked well, this didn't work well, you're sharing, you're learning. They need to hear, how vast this work is and how the repercussions of it can not only help your children, but it could actually help your grandchildren. Because we know that we parent the way we were parented. I think it was Tom that mentioned about the way that he was parented, etc. So, the ripple effect is immense. So, thank you all.
It's been an insight, because obviously when we were all growing up, there wasn't a thing like this around, or it wasn't as well known. It wasn't as well sort of offered. So on that aspect, I think it's a fantastic course, and I think anybody that's got gets the opportunity to do it should do it. I mean,
Say no more, Tom. Say no more.
I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Oh, bless you. Bless you.
I think it also helps as well, because Sam was just brilliant with the way she tackled things and the way she dealt with everybody's individual issues and tailored it to whoever she was talking to at the time for their specific needs. And I think that helped tremendously, rather than it just being textbook uniform from a script.
And that for me is the absolute passion that Brilliant Parents bring with me and Sam, because everyone can do the Triple P training and get accreditation, but it's that love and that passion and those amazing skills, and and to feel that feeling that you're unique even though you're in a group, and know that your story is it kind of gives that validation to you, doesn't it, as individuals, rather than because there is a big textbook that comes with Triple P, isn't there? It could be quite easy for somebody without so many skills to just go through.
And that's exactly it. It could have just been like a series of videos with the book, but absolutely spot on. I think Tom and Jenny, we've all experienced that interaction and that very quick camaraderie with our peers and looking forward. Gary said, you know, I look forward to seeing the people on my group, because, and we had a real laugh at times. We were laughing hysterically at some of the craziness that was going on, and, you know, in these situations. And I think that, and I also thought that, you know, that it worked via Zoom if people can't access it in person, or didn't feel that, you know, that the face-to-face was something that they were willing to do. I thought that the Zoom worked really well, actually.
I think it's about, you know, building relationships, isn't it? And
yeah,
whether or not it's face-to-face or via Zoom, it's still very possible to build those relationships, and to, and each week to maximize on those relationships, so you do feel, you know, that it's a safe space where you can come and share with everybody.
It's nice as well, just knowing that you're not struggling on your own.
You're not the only one going through it.
Yeah. Well,
it's been wonderful. Thank you all so much. I really can't thank you enough. And you know, once we put something on our website, we will send you the link so you can have a look at it. We'll edit it and so forth. But thank you so much, Sam and Gay and Gary and Anna and Tom and Susanna and Jenny. Thank you.